Today I'm in the woodyard. I've got saws. We're going to sharpen them. We're going to do some cutting. Here we go. So the other day we ran the ECHO 7310 for the first time. I ran it in comparison with the 572. Both saws cut really good. Today I'm going to sharpen them up and then we're going to go do some more cutting because it's a beautiful day and it's a good day to cut wood. So that's what we're going to do. So for those of you that may be new to the channel, yes, I can sharpen with a file, but I choose not to. I sharpened with a file for decades and then I discovered this baby. It is a Dremel. It's a 3000. I have 5 or 6 different Dremels. I use the Oregon 7/32 stone bits, and I can sharpen a chain in about 1.5 minutes. With a file, it takes about 10 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on how bad it is. With this, it's quick, it's easy, fast, and I get it darn close to what a file can do. Now, I would rather spend more time cutting and less time sharpening. Some guys like to sharpen. I don't. I just want to get it sharp, and I want to cut. So, if you're a file guy, say you got to sharpen 3 times a day to touch up your chain, you're spending 10, 15 minutes each time. I spend about 1.5 minutes. So I'm gaining about a half an hour of cutting every day. And in a week, that's a couple hours. And in a month, that's a couple days. And in a year, it's a couple weeks. Just saying. I know there's some people that think this is blasphemy. How can you possibly use a stone or a grinder to sharpen your chains? Well, most of the pros use disc grinders and they sharpen their chains in a shop. Guys that do tree work, tree service people, arborists, they generally will sharpen with a grinder and it does a great job. A lot of them do square grind. That's what Bert does. He does a great job on it. I just want to touch it up. I'm not looking for a 10 out of 10 when it comes to sharpening. I mean, I am, but I'm fine if it's a 9 or even an 8. I want it sharp enough that it's cut. I sharpen almost every tank when I cut. So I'm getting it sharp as it can be, quick as possible, so I can keep cutting. Some people think that I should be arrested for this, and there's a lot of other people that have tried it and have seen the light. Just saying. Okay, let's sharpen this baby up. Okay, so when I sharpen, I wear gloves all the time. I wear eye protection, I wear ear protection, and I have already marked a tooth with a red Sharpie marker, so it's all ready to go. We're going to move the camera around this way so you guys can watch. Normally when I sharpen from the end, but I'm going to do it this way so you guys can see. It's a Dremel. I'm going to run it wide open. I'm on a battery pack. Here we go. I did hit the ground with this yesterday, so it does need sharpening. And I sharpen the whole chain, back and forth, both sides. I don't use a guide because I don't need it, because I've done this so much. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I can see the tips are slightly rounded. The top plate isn't perfectly straight, but now it is. And no, I've never had a tooth get brittle from being too hot, from taking the temper out. I've never had a tooth break off on me. Never. And I've been doing this about 10 years now. And I've done a lot of sharpening and it just works. Now when you're hand filing, unless you got your saw in a vise, it's going to move on you a lot. But I do have this in a vise. I have it in one of our tailgate vices that Bert made here. And yes, they are for sale. I have them. It's an aluminum machined, fully machined aluminum little vise. There's a Healy coil inside where the bolt goes through. And it's mounted on a piece of hard maple. And I'll show it to you when I get this all done. For those of you that haven't seen it before. Yeah, this is a little awkward coming from this side, but it's working. Chain also needs to be tightened up. Like I said, this is brand new. The first cutting it did was yesterday. 2 days ago. That's when it was. There's one side is definitely duller than the other side. Not terrible though, it still would have caught, but I like it to be sharper. It's nice to sharpen in the sunlight because I can see the edge really good. You can see when it gets sharp real easy when the sun is shining on it. There we go. That's done. Next I'm going to take the flat file. It's smooth on this edge, so I'm not going to hurt my sharpening job, and I'm going to sharpen. I'm going to take down the rakers, or depth gauges, whatever you like to call them. I'm just going to do one stroke on them. Now we're going to do the other side. I like my vise. It works good. All done. All right, now I got to do is tighten it up. Had to go get the big wrench, the manly wrench, scrunch. This has bigger nuts. And these are keeper nuts, so, or captive, whatever they call them, so they stay there. And we're gonna tighten this up. It's the first time I'm tightening this, but I know how tight to get it. Same as my other saws. That feels good right there. There we go. One down, one to go. We're gonna sharpen up the husqvarna now, because we're gonna cut with both saws again today. So here's how it works. You just drop it in, slide it back, and tighten it up. Well, this chain is about half wore out, so it is not a great chain. It also needs to be tightened up. You can see it's kind of loose. Yeah, it needs to be touched up again here. So we'll tighten this one up. So this chain, as you can see right here, there's a silver or gray, later colored connector here. So that right there is the tooth I'm going to start with. Normally I would just see that, but I marked it with a marker. Again, most of my chains will have either a brass or the silver connector like that. That's the later color, so it's pretty easy to see where to start, but I just marked it so for demonstration. So now this is the way I normally would sharpen. I sharpen facing into it. So when I sharpen, I go like this and like this and like this and like this. Like this. This is about how fast it goes. So normally I sharpen facing the chain. This one is not too bad. I can see I didn't hit the ground much with this one yesterday or the other day. It's pretty good actually. And I know when I cut last time, the raker seemed about right. Seem to be pretty aggressive, so I'm not going to touch the rakers on this one. We're just going to touch it up, and then we're going to tighten it up, and that's it. So if you're interested in these vices like you see the sawing right now, we do sell them. Just email me at Chris in the Woodyard gmail.com, and we can set you up. You don't get the board with it, you just get the vise. So like I said, they're fully machined aluminum. They work really good. They're nice and handy. So the reason I put it on a board and not on a permanent bench is I can take this, put it on my tailgate, go anywhere I want with the sled here, and set it on the tailgate, or set it on a bench, or set it on wherever you want, and you can work. I don't know, for those of you that sharpen with a file, I'm pretty sure you can't do it that fast. There it is, done. All right, now we'll take the smaller scrunch here, loosen this up, and we're going to tighten it up. And again, I get it to where I know it needs to be. All right, there, looks good. I go more by feel than anything, and everybody has their own opinion on how tight it should be or not be. The rule of thumb is you should be able to take a nickel and put it underneath here, and it should just fit. This might be just a little loose. I'm going to go a little tighter, actually, now that I felt it. It's just a little loose yet. We'll give it one more turn, or just part of a turn here. There we go. That'll be enough. There we go. And again, I always wear gloves because when I don't wear gloves, I cut myself because the chain is sharp. There we go. Okay. Loosen this up and take it out. So here's the vise. It's got the Woodyard logo on it, and it's just a little set screw. There is a Healy coil inside of there, and it bolts right down onto the board. And so there you go. It's on a sled, as you can see, and it works pretty good. Awesome, actually. You need one. So the other day I showed you how I put the zip ties on and how I measure. I measure from the bar to the end of this is 16 inches. That's how I know my cuts. These are flexible and they go wherever you want them to go. Some guys like to leave them like this because then you can spin them around out of the way if you want. I like mine to be on what I'm cutting in a pile because I know that's how it's going to be. But I found that these will flex down. They can break off if you set it down on a log and it bends this way if it's cold. They do break over time, but it's a zip tie. It's cheap. But what I found is to put kind of a stress relief on, is to wrap this tape around it. But it doesn't move then. It still flexes, but it makes it so it lasts a lot longer. So it's just some electrical tape. And this is all I do. I just kind of go around a few times. I go around like this, and it kind of helps hold it in place. So I'll go around like this, and like this. And then do one more. Then we're going to go around like this a couple times, just to give it a little extra stiffness so that it doesn't break right there and it stays in place better. And I have found that this works a little better this way. Some guys like it, some guys don't. This is what works for me. And I'm not the guy that's ever going to tell you have to do anything. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. Don't care. Well, I care, but this works for me. There you go. They're done. So now both of these will flex. They won't break off for a long time. They'll last quite a while like this. All right, so now we're going to put in some oil and some gas. I usually like to put the bar oil in the front, in the bar oil section, but I have been known to do it the wrong way. I bet none of you have ever done that, because you're all smarter than me. I know that because I've been told lots of times, but I have done it once, maybe twice even. There's one, and I like to put the bar oil in first because that way I don't forget in case I get interrupted. And if I don't put gas in, I can't cut. But if I put gas in and I don't have bar oil, I can still cut. Whoa! We overflowed that one. But that's okay. If I run out, I can't run it because I got bar oil, but I don't want to run out of bar oil and ruin the saw, the bar, and the chain anyway. That's not a good thing. Okay, let's dump some in these here. And I do like to use the push button safety cans. These work pretty good. And I like to, like I said, put in. I only use premium gas, no ethanol, no corn, please, for me. All my small engines I run premium, no bar oil. I mean, no corn gas. and I mix it myself. I use a Husqvarna mix. Try not to overflow it because I can't see. Oh, there we go. It's coming up. There we go. All right. I like the full screw here. Let's see, 1, 2, almost 2 full turns, and these go about 2 full turns, so that's good. Better than a quarter turn. All right, let's go cut some wood. Well, there, after all the sharpening and filling and all that, I got everything ready to go. I got the 2 saws out here. We're gonna start with the ECHO first, again. Warm up a little bit there. So I'm going to attempt to do a voiceover so you guys can hear what I'm thinking when I cut. So when I'm cutting, it's in a log pile a lot of times because I get a lot of stuff. Now these are all chunks that we didn't want to run through the processor. This is tops from trees we cut. This is from a load of wood that I bought, and we pulled out all the junk wood, which is small stuff, crooked stuff, nasty crap basically. So yeah, when I'm cutting, I do some things kind of weird, you might notice. Try to cut the stuff on top. A lot of times I'll use the saw to move wood. I'll use the chain as it's moving to roll pieces out of the way or chuck them out of the way. You're going to see some of that coming here. Yeah, I try to hit, I almost like chop the saw with it. That's a very soft piece of aspen there. So, but yeah, I just cut away and I just kind of reach for what I can reach, and I cut whatever I can reach, and then I move it out of the way and then grab another piece. I got little pieces. You can see I'm just kind of chopping away here. I watch the tip really closely. I'm pretty good at like that right there where you cut in between pieces. I kind of know what to do with the chain. Obviously, if you've cut a lot, you kind of know to watch the tip, and you know what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. When I'm cutting by the ground, I try to feather it off and kind of, ooh, I got caught one there. That happens sometimes. You get a piece behind the bar and you're cutting down and you'll throw it against your leg. Happens. But yeah, I'm just chopping these pieces up here. Yeah, they're small, but hey, they make firewood. And again, this is all stuff we didn't really want to run through the processor. So I'm just hand cutting it, and we'll split it with the splitter. We'll just pop these in half. Yeah, I'm just kind of dropping the saw and chopping them. They're just little branches. I mean, it's no big deal. So I hit it usually full throttle and just cut them. The saw is sharp, little bitty branches like that stuff there. And again, I just kind of reach around, try to make sure you got good footing. I try not to hit the try not to hit the trigger if I'm not on solid ground. If I'm, I can tell one foot is on the ground solid, the other one's kind of forward a little bit, like when you throw a ball. That's okay if it's not super solid with both feet. I know some places in Europe, if you don't have both your feet on the ground, they arrest you and put you in jail and cut your hands off or something. I know they're pretty picky that way, but we still have a little bit of freedom here in the United States. You can kind of cut any way you want, I guess. It's up to you. If you're going to get hurt, it's on you, and I accept that. So yeah, I'm just chopping away here, cutting the pieces, trying to let them fall, get out of the way, and just kind of hitting them one at a time there. So as I'm cutting, I'm already looking to my side to what piece I'm going to cut next. On the ground is what's the toughest because you don't want to hit the ground. A lot of times I'll use my cant hook and I'll lift them up. But if you watch the tip and you know where your bar is, you know where you're going to cut. I use a 24-inch bar. I don't mind bending over a little bit. 20-inch bar is too short. I've tried 28s. To me, they're just a little bit too long. I'm 5'10", and for my reach, the 24-inch bar works really good for me. I switched quite a while ago, and I run 24s on most of my saws now. And I usually sharpen, like I said, pretty much every tank I cut. I'll touch it up at least. It's rare that I'll go 2 tanks full without cutting. You can see how I got my feet. I looked down to make sure my one foot was in a solid spot and then the other one kind of forward a little bit. A lot of times I use one foot to hold the log in place if it's a small one. A lot of times, you know, they'll roll on you or they won't be in there solid. Yeah, just crouch down. I try to use the back of the bar if I can too a lot of times, but sometimes you can't. And basically I just I cut the piece so that, you know, I'm making progress. So yeah, just kind of chopping away here and whittling into the pile and trying to get the wood all cut down. So here, a different angle, you can see what I'm cutting. And it's different from where you are to what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is different. See how I went under that piece there? Kind of walked it under so you don't have to worry about kickback between the pieces there. I don't know, the only way you can really learn that is to cut a lot. It's hard to explain it to people. If I had someone standing right with me and I talked them through each cut, I think I could, you know, show them some things that I do that are maybe a little different. Sometimes I reach in with my hands and throw pieces out of the way. A lot of times though, I like to take the saw and just fling it out of the way with using the chain. If you go on the top of a log, on the round part, you can roll it out of the way sometimes. If you've got one standing on end, you can hit the end of it, and you can, like that right there, that what I just did. You can kind of flick them out of the way a little bit of your next cut, but I'm constantly looking. A lot of times like that, I just pull the log down with the saw. Instead of setting the saw down, reaching up, pulling the log down, I kind of just grab it with the saw and pull it down and have the teeth kind of pull it towards me. And especially this little stuff here, I don't know, it's not that hard to do. The one thing you really got to watch out for is the piece that's underneath the bar when you're cutting, because what can happen is it can catch the back or the bottom of the chain as it's going around, and you can shoot it back and hit your leg. Yes, I've done it. It happens. You got to watch for all those things. It just happens sometimes. But see how I just kind of use the bar? A lot of times I just kind of swat the piece out of the way. Sometimes I'll flick it, you know, to the side like that right there. I just kind of flicked it over to the side, just kind of roll it out, and right there too. And there I'm pulling it down. Just kind of clearing out an area as I go. Like I said, once in a while I'll stop, I'll clear out a whole bunch of them, pull some pieces away. Sometimes I might only take out 2 or 3 chunks just so I can get my feet on the ground. And I was doing a little upcut there. So yeah, whatever I can reach, and then I'm getting another one. There, 1 foot is up, 1 foot's down, one's on the ground, one's on the log. There, I rolled one all the way, you could see that right there. Right there, one kind of kicked back at me. The piece from the top falling. Oh, look at that, that's pretty in the sun. But yeah, try to get them square as possible. If it's a little crooked on the little stuff, it's not a big deal. If you get a crooked cut, because when I run it through the splitter, you put in your crooked end in first into the blade or the wedge, and it will bite just fine. If you put it on the back plate, the push plate, it can squirt out on you. But you don't have to be perfect. Square is always better, but it's not the end of the world, especially on these little bitty pixie sticks. But yeah, just kind of whittling away, try to stay as square as possible and work the saw into the cracks and cut wood. I don't know how to explain it other than, I don't know, you just do it. You do it a lot, and you get good at it. When these are piles like this that are all crisscrossed all over the place, they're actually kind of hard to cut in because you got so many different angles to hit. But if I was cutting in a log pile like the one that you see over in the background there in that oak, that's easy to cut because everything's pretty much facing the same direction. You start on the ground and just work your way into the pile, cutting back and forth, left and right, up and down. Try not to move too much with your feet. Try to reach as many cuts as you can and then go to the next spot. Roll some pieces out of the way, clear them out, and then cut some more. But yeah, you can cut pretty fast this way. It's kind of fun actually. I like cutting with a saw. These are both 70cc saws. I'm using a Husqvarna 572 and an ECHO 7310. Both very nice saws. They both cut really good. See how I'm just flicking the pieces out of the way there? I do that a lot. It just saves, the more you can keep the saw in your hand, the faster you can get the job done. I'm not saying you gotta, fly through wood, but you can use the tip of the bar to do a lot of different things. You can, like I said, you can flick pieces out of the way left or right. You can roll them down towards you. You can flick them out of the way by I don't know how, like that right there you go. It was in the way, so I just flicked it out of the way, and that gave me a couple more cuts from that spot. Yeah, a lot of times I'll cut up to release it. Sometimes I cut from the top. You just, like I said, just try to get a good solid spot and cut as many cuts as you can in one spot, and then get your feet solid again, and then cut again. Now some people will say that's not solid, I'm standing on logs. Yeah, but they're not moving and I'm not moving. It's not for everybody. Some people should not do this. There's a lot of people actually that should not do this, especially if you're a beginner. But if you cut a lot, you get used to it. You know when to hit the throttle if your feet are solid. You should not have your feet moving and cutting at the same time. I was just rolling that piece back, but I try to get fairly solid, standing still, and then I cut. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a balance thing. You kind of get the hang of it. But yeah, just kind of whittling away at the pieces, and it's a lot of fun cutting like this. See how I use the bottom of the bar there as close as I can to the dogs? You get more power like that. When you're reaching out, you're not getting as much power. Let's say like right there, I like to set it down. That's your fastest, most powerful cut right there. Cutting with the tip is slower. You got to use your arms more because you're either pushing down or lifting up because you're reaching out in front of you quite often. Yeah, so just cutting all the pieces away there. That's a piece of popple there, aspen. That stuff just cuts like butter. It's like cutting pine. It's like cutting air, like there's nothing there. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, when you're cutting, you just feel it. There's nothing there compared to like hickory or ironwood or most oak, locust, very hard wood, stuff like that. This piece right here, see how I'm cutting in the crack there? Because it wasn't even, so I trimmed off a branch, but I'm cutting in the crack so the tip is going into it, and then I'm kind of cleaning up on the, see, I moved that piece out of the way, and then I'm cutting into the pieces where the crack is because it didn't line up exactly with the end because it was a split end, and I just kind of popped that out of the way. And I'm going to go and I'm going to cut a solid piece and just let that cracked piece then fall away. And cut another chunk off the end. A lot of times you cut the cookies at the last cut, you cut a piece off that's not going to fit well. Yeah. Cutting, having fun. are, the two saws that did the carnage today. There are the rounds that I cut up. There's some here, and there's some over there in a pile too. I chucked over there, so still got a little bit to go. Now I left this big one here and those two big ones over there because we're gonna take these and I'm gonna set them up by the barn, and we're gonna cut them into rounds up there. I'm gonna take the tractor, but next time I cut, take the grapple, we'll carry them up there. I'm gonna cut them into rounds because we got another tool that might be coming that we might be able to do something with these big ones here. We got some ideas of some things we can do with these because big equipment, big wood, they kind of go together, and we got something that might be coming. Maybe, we'll see. So there it is. I got a tank through each of them. I hit the ground with both saws about halfway through, so they weren't the sharpest as I was cutting, but this isn't super hard wood. I mean, it's box elder and elm, and saw one chunk of hickory in there. There's a couple pieces of willow ahead in there, which I don't want at all. There was a couple pieces of aspen and a couple pieces of cottonwood. That's the word I was looking for. And so all I got left is this right here. So that's probably a little over one tank, and I'll probably do that tomorrow or the next day. So there's the two saws. People have been asking me, you know, how do I like the saws? The new ECHO MS-7310P professional. 24-inch bar on both of them. Both cut really nice. My impression, because I've run a couple tanks through it now, is that it's getting a little better. And the throttle response isn't quite as snappy as a Husqvarna. Husqvarna is just, it's kind of like the 500i if you ran a still 500i. It's just right now. That's kind of more like the 572 and the 592 are like that. The ECHO is a little more like probably more like a 462 still. Good power when it gets going, but it's not super fast right off the get-go. Maybe not quite as much top-end RPMs. I don't know the specifics on it. I don't know the actual numbers. I'm sure there's some techno-weenie guy out there that can tell me exactly right down to the millisecond and RPMs and all that. I don't know. I just go by what I feel. And it feels good to cut wood. And that's really all that matters. So that's it for today, folks. Hit the buttons. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Another video for you right now. Go watch all the other videos on my channel. There's 1,300 waiting for you right now. Good night, Irene.